Well, all week we've been bringing you stories of Canberra as a changing capital. Some of that change has been more obvious, like the clearing of trees or the spread of cranes across the skyline. With the layout and the nature of the city changing, how do planners make sure that Canberra remains a good place to live? James Fettis has been investigating.
There's parks, there's bike paths, there's access is really good.
I think it's kind of nice because it's that real sort of Australian vibe.
There's plenty of nature parks, plenty of reserves, lots of things for children to do.
It's a familiar refrain for Canberra, the bush capital, but it's one that some see as under threat.
We're risking a Canberra which is much less community oriented. People won't be able to walk to anything useful. You'll end up, if your kids want to go out, you've got to stick them in a car.
Canberra is growing fast, and as more and more people arrive, the question is where to put them. Cities usually have two options, build out or build up, but not all options are created equal.
Simply spreading further and further out means that we have to provide more and more services over a much wider space. And really, from my perspective, that's the worst scenario we can have for our cities.
Urban planner Barbara Norman is a strong advocate for higher density.
But when we do it, we have to be thinking very carefully about urban design. We have to think very carefully about quality open space, or the public realm.
So, how's that going so far?
I think there's a mixed record.
Take Braddon's Lonsdale Street. Most of the mechanics and car washes of yesterday have made way for the closest thing the capital has to a hipster mecca. But cars still reign supreme here, and Barbara says the city has a long way to go to make good on the promise of density.
Walkability generally in Canberra needs to be significantly improved. Being able to walk around the place, feel comfortable, feel safe, and a pleasant environment. So having footpaths that are not this narrow.
So what lessons can Canberra learn from other cities? What better place to start than Melbourne? Like Canberra, Australia's second biggest city is growing fast. It too has gone through an apartment boom, albeit on an entirely different scale. But despite all the people, just a couple of kilometres west of the city centre, a virtual ghost town. Docklands, once hailed as the future of urban design, is pilloried by locals as devoid of any.
I do think it's a bit of a corporate wasteland.
You don't see the locals either.
And just a bit dead, really, to be honest.
I know it's definitely lacking something. I just can't really put my finger on what it's actually lacking.
It's too much concrete and tarmac.
So what went wrong?
Each parcel of land was separately tendered out, but no one became responsible for what happened in between those spaces. There was a number of iconic buildings, but no connection.
It's a problem the state government's been trying to fix ever since, retrofitting public infrastructure and trying to retrofit character. But back in the ACT, the Assembly's most vocal planning advocate says the Territory's planners are repeating those mistakes.
They approve development by development, and we often don't look at the cumulative impact of a number of developments.
Caroline Lakuta is leading a wide-ranging inquiry into housing. A key priority is open space.
If places are just full of roads and buildings and no green spaces, they get hotter. We're having that now in Canberra in a way we never had in the past.
Just part of a wider effort to keep the bush capital green. James Fettis, ABC News, Canberra.